Hello, gamers. I am the Professor. Welcome to the show. This is the Professor Live, the live show, where I talk about the various things happening in and around the gaming industry. And today's show will be focusing on, well, AAA games. Now, we all know that AAA doesn't necessarily mean high quality anymore. It used to. AAA games, you almost could guarantee that a AAA game was going to be great back in the day. But here recently, whenever we hear about a AAA game in development, and it's either a high-profile franchise or it's something new, it's almost always followed by doubt and dread and disbelief. The 3Ds. We always question, is this going to be good or is this going to be crap? We can't trust the big names in the industry anymore to really produce a good product. I mean, can we really trust EA or Activision or Ubisoft anymore to produce something that's AAA quality, that's supposed to be what is supposed to be AAA quality, but turns out to be something completely not? Can we really trust them? And whatever is broken that caused this, can it be fixed? That's what we're going to be talking about today in this hour-long show. But to begin, AAA game studios used to be synonymous with really high quality, really good games. Really good games. Games used to ship without many bugs or very few. It wasn't until later in the PC gaming with the internet, the advent of the internet, that games started getting patches. But the thing is, when the games mostly when games launched, except for a rare few, most were really good. Consoles didn't start getting patches until they started getting online features with the original Xbox, and I think even the PlayStation 2 might have been an instance where a game got a patch. But I know that there were some early console games that got some patches, but that's neither here nor there. That's not where things started going wrong with AAA games. That's not where it started happening. But, as I said, back in the day, AAA games used to be synonymous with high quality, really good production values. Then things started going downhill over time. And nowadays, a AAA game, especially if it's live service, and that's the key, live service. Especially if it's a live service game, you can almost guarantee that it's going to be either broken at launch and unfinished at launch. You can almost guarantee it. It's gonna be. If you hear that it's a live service game, there is a high chance that it's gonna be broken, it's gonna have tons of bugs, and it's going to be missing a lot of content. And that is a trend that's been growing a lot in this industry. A significant amount. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down. Because as much as we hate live service games, the game studios keep making them because there are people that keep throwing money at them. Now, some live service games have been failing. Some of them have, not been doing so well. There are some consumers who, decide, hey, I'm not going to put my money into this. Some of them got smart and decide, hey, I'm not going to put my money into this. But others, the reason why a lot of them are still being made is because there's still money to be made in them. And this herein lies probably the one point that I keep drilling home. on this subject. And before I go into that, I need to clarify something right now. Right now. I do not, under any circumstances, condone socialism. I do not support it. I am fully against it. At the same time, I don't believe in our current form of capitalism. I do not think socialism should replace it. I do not think it is a viable replacement for it. But I have no faith in our current system of capitalism. Why? Because it is too easily corruptible. It can too easily become fascism. And it's on its way, or it's already there, with what's happening with big tech and this whole thing where they gave the government a portal to be able to censor whatever they want. It's become that. That shouldn't have been allowed. That shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't even be possible. It's not legal. It's not constitutional. But getting away from that, I wholeheartedly believe that game companies should not go corporate. I know going corporate, going public, and selling stocks, I know is a very easy, very quick way of making money. Very fast. It's a way of getting rich. It's why a lot of companies do IPOs in the first place. But I think going corporate, especially if you're a game company, I mean, other companies can go corporate. There's really no problem with that. But game companies really shouldn't. The main reason why game companies should not go corporate is because when they do go corporate, they are beholden to their shareholders. They are beholden to this standard that Wall Street sets for corporations of exponential growth. They're beholden to that. They have to show growth in their market. They have to show growth in their profits. They have to keep profits up. And to do that, they have to cut corners. And when they cut corners, especially on something like games, that's when you start getting what we have now. That's when AAA games start suffering. That's when you start getting stuff like live service games. And it breeds that. It breeds corruption in these companies where they will say one thing and then do another. Where, they'll hype up a game massively hype it up. And then when it launches, it's not what they were advertising. It's not what they were promising. I mean, we saw that with Cyberpunk 2077. We saw that with Cyberpunk. And the executives at CD Projekt Red they owned that. They admitted that was their mistake, that they did that, and a lot of them quit because of it. You don't see EA execs doing that. You don't see them quitting. You don't see them stepping down because they made mistakes. Because, hey, we launched this game that cost millions of dollars to make, and we're charging $70 for it. Oh, and we also have these microtransactions on top of that. $70 that you have to go through in order to go through progression in the game. Yeah, we made a mistake there, and we're gonna own that mistake, and we're going to make up for it, and we're gonna I'm gonna step down because I made this mistake. You don't see that. Thank goodness Cyberpunk wasn't a live service game. Thank goodness that wasn't the case. But we saw many instances where live service games launched in an extremely crappy state. I beta tested Anthem. I was an Anthem beta tester, and I saw the state the game was in when it launched, when it was just less than a month from launching. And I go, this is not ready. This was nowhere near ready. This was not what we were promised. I mean, I loved the flying around, Iron Man flying around aspect of Anthem. I really liked that. That was its strong suit. You know, some of the combat needed some tweaking, some of that needed some improvements, but other than that, it would have been a fantastic game had they actually put more work into it instead of trying to do the whole live service thing. Just try to focus making a good game and then focus on trying to sell shit to people afterwards. Just launch a good game. Stop focusing on the minimum viable product. Just doing the minimum work to get a game out the door. Stop doing that. Actually produce something good first. Get them in the door with a good game. Then bring out the microtransactions. Then do that. You know, after you get the people in and after they see the game, sit down with it, play it, start liking the content, that's when you then say, hey, we got these microtransactions and stuff for things for you to buy in the game, because this money will go towards new content, additional content for the game. We're setting up this store, we're launching this in the game for you to invest in this game's future. That's how you should do it. But they don't do that. They absolutely do not. And it makes the game suffer. And the whole reason why they push these out the door the way they do is because of the shareholders. They're not beholden to the gamers. They're not there to make the best game for gamers. They're there to produce the best product they can under a specific budget that is good enough to launch and start bringing in profits. A minimum viable product. Just the minimum of what they need in order to have something to ship. And then they'll work on filling it out later with additional content, and while also selling stuff to people at the same time. And that is why we get games like Anthem. That is why we get games like Battlefield 2042. That is why we get games. What was the latest name? Halo Infinite. That's why we get games like Halo Infinite. That's how that happens. And it's all because the game companies are corporate. They are beholden not to us, the people who buy the games, the people who consume them, not to us, but to people who really don't care about games. They just invested in EA and Activision and those other companies. They invested in them because, you know, they get a share of the revenue. And so to keep them happy, they have to keep their revenue up. They have to keep this exponential growth. They have to meet these milestones, these financial milestones. They have to hit these markers. And it makes their work suffer. It creates conditions within the company that creates things like, you know, crunch. In EA, it created for a really bad business environment where, you know, employees weren't allowed to go to the bathroom for certain times a day. Some people were literally sleeping under their desks at some point. That was one time that I had heard. You can get out there and you can Google the horror stories of people who have worked for EA, worked for Activision, worked for Ubisoft, and all the things that used to happen in those companies. And I'm not just talking about the whole sexual allegation things at Activision Blizzard. I'm talking about just the working conditions for the developers, the employees, of just how bad it's been. And all because they're trying to meet a financial goal. All because they're trying to make the investors happy, trying to make Wall Street happy, trying to make sure their numbers, excuse me, match up with financial forecasts. Because if they don't, then it will hurt them next time. They could be listed poorly on the stock exchange. Financial forecasters could say that this particular game company stock was not worth getting because they can't meet their financial goals. They would say that, and if people start selling their stocks, that's less money for the company. They start selling off their stocks, that's less money for the company. That drops the value of the stock. Especially if they start selling in droves. I mean, look at what's happening to Meta. Meta's stock is dropping like a stone because people are selling it off. Like, they could fail. They were once a $1 trillion company, actually extremely, I don't know $1 trillion, but they were definitely a lucrative company, and they on the way to failing. I know that it is a hard subject to deal with. It is one that has no clear-cut answers on what to do. Because of this need that Wall Street has, these requirements that Wall Street has, game companies are skimping. They are putting quantity over quality. And that's not good. That's not healthy for a creative environment like a game studio. It's not healthy for it. And so you get games like the ones that we've been getting recently. What can be done about it? Well, what can you do about this? I mean, a lot of these companies have gotten used to making billions of dollars. Exploiting whales, exploiting, the small number of people who spend the most. And that's the reality of it with these live service games, is that most of these companies are getting rich because a small number of people are paying more than most everyone else. It's the same thing with mobile games. The whole term whale came from the mobile gaming industry, where the bulk of their revenue came from a small number of people. These whales would come in and they would just spend and spend and spend and spend, whereas the majority of people would spend very little or nothing at all. But all their millions, their bulk of their revenue is coming from like 1% of their user base. And that has translated over to games on consoles and PC with these live service games and some of these pay to win free to play MMOs, where the emphasis is on the microtransactions and on selling items for progression than on the gameplay itself. And that's where we are. That's where we are with these games. How can this be fixed? How can you take a system from the way it is now, where these games are just basically money machines? These companies are making millions and millions off of a small subset of players. How can you fix it? I mean, is there a way to fix it? And I don't believe that there's any one clear-cut way, no one clear-cut solution. This is too big a problem for one thing to fix it. Just way too big. Way too big, way too complex for just one answer. There never is just one simple answer to fixing anything, especially this. None. It would take several things, and it would take far smarter people than me, or probably you and me, to come up with those solutions. But I'm going to try and think of some ideas. For one thing, I think a lot of these big companies need to go private. You can still sell stock, but at least do it privately with select investors. That way, they're not beholden to this huge swath of investors in the company, and they have to keep Wall Street happy. They can have this small subset of people who invested in the company, and they don't have to worry about meeting financial forecasts and worrying about getting downgraded if they don't meet their forecasts. Don't worry about financial forecasters saying, oh, this stock is not something you want to invest in because they can't meet it, can't meet their milestones, they can't meet their financial goals that they have to meet. It would resolve that. But there are sacrifices that would be made because of that. For one thing, they wouldn't be bringing in nearly as much money at first. At first, they wouldn't be bringing in nearly as much money, because without all the investors and everything, they wouldn't be bringing in nearly as much money. Second, if they made it clear that if they do microtransactions, to not do pay to win, and to also not employ psychological tricks to get people to buy, to get people to pay. Because that's the way they work right now, is that they've worked with psychologists to create these systems, set these things up so that it reinforces the idea of buying stuff in their store. That they use psychology, and they use psychology to design these things to encourage people to buy stuff. Get rid of that. Change that. As I said, you can clearly see why I'm saying this is a complex problem, why it's not so easily fixed. You can clearly see that, right? I mean, there are already some problems with, some things I was suggesting, because, if you're going from a public to a private company, you're not going to have as much revenue, because you're not going to be in the stock exchange anymore. Your company's value is going to drop some. Actually, it could drop a considerable amount. So there are challenges, and again, as I said, it would take some people with a lot more brains than you or I to figure out a way to fix this. Is it fixable? Can we steer companies like EA, Activision, Blizzard, and Ubisoft back onto the right track? Can we do that? Is it even possible? I mean, if it is fixable, if the situation can even be corrected, is it even possible to do this? Yes and no. Again, much smarter people are going to have to look at this whole situation, and they're going to have to be the ones that ultimately decide what to do in this, if anything is even done. It's possible that this may just continue. The current trend of AAA games just getting worse and worse at launch is just going to grow until the point to where consumers are just so fed up that they don't buy it. Or the majority of gamers don't buy it. And still, the game companies' mega fans, the fanboys, they'll still buy the game. But, they're a minority. The die-hard fanboys, the die-hard PlayStation fanboys, the die-hard, Call of Duty fanboys, the die-hard Rainbow Six fanboys and stuff. There's only so many of them compared to how many gamers are out there. They're actually a minority. They're the ones that throw the most money at these companies. They are among the whales. And they're the ones that throw the most money at these companies. And again, there's not that many of them. And so, what happens when the majority of gamers stop buying their crap? What if the next Battlefield or the next Call of Duty comes out and it's gotten a lot worse? I mean, I've heard that the next Assassin's Creed is going to become a live service. What if that's absolute crap? What if that doesn't sell? What if that flops? What if the next Battlefield flops? What if the next Call of Duty again flops? What if the next Halo flops even harder than Infinite has? What if that happens? What happens then? Is it going to take these companies utterly failing, utterly losing millions in investments in getting these games made? Is it going to take them losing millions to finally get it that we don't want these games that try to sell to us all the time? That we want games that are good. We want games that are finished. We want games that are completed. We want games with good gameplay. I don't mind a game that has some microtransactions in it if it's a good game, if it launched in a good state, and me paying into microtransactions will help further development, if it's a great game. But if it launches in a terrible state, and then they still expect you to buy into their microtransactions, then no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to invest into a game that launched in such a horrible state. If you want my loyalty, you have to earn it right out the bat. Right out the gate. You got to earn my loyalty right then and there. And if you don't, you're not going to get a dime from me. And that is how every gamer should approach this. If you don't win me over the first time out, you don't get my wallet. You don't get my money. That should be how every gamer does this from the start. You don't get my attention, you don't get my money. You don't impress me out the gate, you don't get my loyalty. That is how we should all approach these. All of us. It will take all of us to do this, even the fanboys doing this, because the only thing that these big companies are going to listen to is their checkbook. That's all they're going to listen to, is their checkbook. That's the only way we're going to get through to them. It seems like that is the only way. So, again, is this fixable? Not easily. Solutions are going to require a lot of thinking, people with a lot more smarts than either of us. And it may ultimately end up with us just basically not buying their crap and letting that be the message, that we stop buying their stuff and their loss of revenue becomes the message. Stop launching broken games and then demanding we buy stuff for it. Stop creating these broken live service titles, where the game is just absolutely busted and there are problems, there's missing content. Just don't do this. Focus on the game first, the sales side second. Make the gameplay, make the game itself the priority, and then later focus on the store. Later focus on the microtransactions. Don't try to make get progression in the game, tied to how many nut sacks you can buy off the store, or how many golden dildos you have to buy in the store in order to progress your character's stats. All this crap. These 4 or 5 different forms of currency that you have to purchase, and this other tier of currency that you have to purchase. It was in the Diablo Immortal. There was like this currency you had to buy for your progression, and then once you reached a certain level, then there was this other set of currency that you had to buy in order to get even further beyond that, and you didn't even know this other level of progression was there until you spent $100,000. You didn't even know that this other level of progression was there until you spent in a ton of money to the game. No, don't do that. Make a better game first. If you make a good game first and then come to us with microtransactions and say, hey, this is stuff that we'd like to sell you because we would like the additional funding to, make the game better, to add new content, to expand it, then you know what? We'd be more open to accepting live service games then. If you approached it that way, we'd be more open to this. But you're not approaching it that way. You're handing us a game that is barely a game sometimes. In the case of Anthem, it was barely a game. You handed it to us, and you said, oh, there's these microtransactions and stuff that you can buy, and it will let us improve the game. You had a few years to actually make the game. Why didn't you make the game good first? Why didn't you make the game good first before then trying to sell something to us? You sold us the game. We bought the game full price, full retail price. And it's not even done. It's not even finished. This is a minimum viable product. And you have this going on, and then you have people who have the absolute gall to complain about Star Citizen. You want to know why Star Citizen is taking so long? Why development of this game is taking so long, yet they're still taking in donations, still taking in, pledges? Because they want to ship something that is done. If Star Citizen was done by EA or Activision or Ubisoft, they would launch the game as it currently is in its alpha stage, unfinished, with lots of bugs. It's true. You cannot deny it. It absolutely is true. But you're bitching and crying, and you're calling it Scam Citizen because it's taking a long time to make. Well, guess what? Games of that complexity take a long time to make. Game development is not easy. You cannot create a game like that overnight. Despite what the other game studios might say, or how what you might think, can't be done overnight, especially with that much complexity. And the game is still in alpha. They don't want to launch it in a state that is broken. Squadron 42 has been in development for a long time. Why didn't they launch it early? Because they don't want a broken game when they launch it. They want to make sure that it is done, that it is as relatively bug-free as possible. That's why they're even letting the backers play the thing as they're developing it. And that is another thing that's slowing down development. Development is getting slowed down because they're releasing playable portions of the game so players can play, so that the backers can play test Star Citizen. That's one of the other reasons why it's taking so long. It's because they have play testers with every patch. But you complain. You bitch and complain, and you call it a scam. Well, at the same time, the AAA studios are releasing games that are broken, releasing games that are unfinished, and then they charge microtransactions for them. And people spend hundreds of thousands on these games. And every time they release a new one, you buy into it, you buy into it, you buy into it. You scream and cry at them, you complain, but every time they release something new, every time they release a new COD, every time they release a new Battlefield, you buy it. You pay full price. And then you complain when it's broken. You complain when it's unfinished. You complain when it's missing content that gets added later, or in some cases never gets added later. In some cases, there's stuff that some games never got that was promised. Some content that was promised that never was delivered. And then when the next one comes out, you buy it, you buy it, you buy it. Ultimately, no solution will work if you don't stop investing money in these bad habits of these companies. If you don't stop buying these crap games, stop buying these live service games that are shipping unfinished, lacking content, promised content, and are filled with microtransactions, especially ones that are pay to win, especially ones that lock progression behind multiple layers of these digital currencies you have to buy in order to progress your characters. You know, locks progression behind months and months and months and months, or even in some cases years of work to progress a character, when someone with the deep pockets can come in and just become high level almost overnight. Stop investing in them. Stop putting your money on them. Stop buying them. Send this message. We're not going to buy your crap unless you start making better games. There's nothing wrong with live service games. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to release a free-to-play game and charging, microtransactions for stuff for like additional content. But just don't make it pay to win, and at least produce something good, produce something more than a minimum viable product, and then we will see. actually release a game that's actually got content, that's actually somewhat semi-finished. Until you decide to stop investing into these games. Unless we actually start acting like smart consumers. These live service games are just going to keep coming out. They're still going to keep digging into our wallets. And they're still going to keep making them. Because it works. Ultimately, what it will come down to is us changing our buying habits. Us gamers. Altering our buying habits. Not getting into the hype train. Not allowing ourselves to get overhyped by new stuff. Being skeptical every time a major studio announces something. Asking questions. Demanding answers to things. Demanding that they be transparent. Don't hold anything back. Tell us. Tell us everything. We want to know. We want to know details. Don't be vague about stuff. Just give us the raw answers on things. Just don't hold anything back, because we want to know. Some of these games are starting to get pretty expensive. Especially on PlayStation. They're getting really stupid expensive. But some of these games are expensive to buy. Expensive to put money into. And there's so many of these games out. It's like we can only play so many of them. And invest in so many of them. There are some that got enough money to throw away. But most people can only play one MMO. And maybe two if they're alternate. Like if you're playing Final Fantasy 14, it's okay to play it for a while, put it down, and play other stuff. Even Yoshi P encourages that. Even says, hey, it's perfectly okay for you to play Final Fantasy 14 for a while, and then, if you want to, put it down and play something else. He's perfectly fine with that. He encourages that. But these other games, they go out of their way to try and keep you in it. World of Warcraft goes out of its way to try and keep you invested, keep you in the game for as long as possible, to keep those numbers up so they can impress their investors. And it creates this cycle. Even though World of Warcraft's not really a free-to-play game, they do have microtransactions. They do have that. But they try to keep you in the game for as long as possible. Whereas the really good games, the really good ones, like Final Fantasy 14, or Star Citizen is the same way, they respect your time. They don't try to keep you in the game all the time. Anyway, as I said, ultimately, the solution is that there's no one solution but altering our buying habits, changing our buying habits. You changing your buying habits will go a long way towards helping to alleviate this problem. It will force the game studios to look at what they're doing once and for all. Because unless it impacts their earnings, unless it impacts their wallet, they won't listen. They won't listen. They won't hear it. You have to hit them where they cannot ignore it, and that's in the wallet. Boy, I was really on my soapbox today. I don't know if anyone else was on the stream. I'm looking at the chat window. You don't see it in the view. But I have the chat window up over here, so I can see if anybody says anything. Nobody's here. Oh well. I like this house. I like this place. I like this venue a lot more then I really do. I like this a lot more than I liked the Black Barn. I'm glad that I found this place. This place is pretty neat. Hey, you know what? Let me take you on a tour. Let's do that. Let me take you on a tour here. I'm gonna have to take control of camera mode. Anchor. Oh, okay. What? Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh, that's not doing what I thought it was going to do. Hold on. Is this gonna work or? Oh, yeah. But I want it to look. I want it to look in front of me instead of looking behind me. Well. You know what? Let me just kill the camera then. Alright. Yeah, I like this venue a lot better for the show. I like this one. They got the this beautiful Faye Valentine image up here. You know. Faye is always lovely. Nice fireplace. I would love to have a house that's like this. God, I would like to have. Let me go to the beginning here, because I found this place and I thought, damn, this is so nice. This place is so nice. They call it what was the name here again? Got the name here. A Winter Company. I would love to have a house like this. Now, they treat it like something else. They got men's and women's bathrooms. Of course, you wouldn't have that on a house. Women's bathrooms. Oh, okay. And then there's nothing here. You can't open that. Then some decorations around in here. Decorations on the wall. There's some rooms here. There's a cool bedroom. Faye on the TV. A thing here for watching video. You can watch videos on this screen. This is a projector. There's the projector right there. That's cool. Creates a shadow when you walk in front of it, which is awesome. That's pretty awesome. Then there's this nice skybox. I don't know what city that is. Is that in Europe? Somewhere? I don't think that's in the US. I think that's some European city. I like this decoration. And the pixie lights along the floor and everything in the bed here, and pixie lights along the ceiling. I was thinking of putting some pixie lights in my room to give it a soft glow, because my room's normally dark because of my photosensitivity. But I thought, you know what? Put some very mild glow pixie lights in the room, little LED lights in the room, to give it some light. So I have some light. And a Higo bread right down here. I didn't notice that before. Fireplace here. Keeps the place warm. That's cool. They got this tracked LED lighting here. Okay, and they got this open space in the middle here with snow coming down with a tree in the middle. Alright, this is where we were. This is where I was filming. They got a mirror, but it's not really a mirror. It's just showing space. Nice Christmas tree decoration here. Other decorations here. This place would be murdered to dust. But fireplace, cool fireplace. Like this whole space here with space for the logs. That's pretty ingenious design, especially over here. And some paintings here. Another look out the window. A place for everyone to sit. This big stone as a table. And these stones here as seats. This is pretty cool. I mean, this would be an awesome spot for role-playing, for doing D&D. This would be an awesome spot for that. Again, looking out. And stuff here, decorations here. Another open space in the building, inside the building. There's some, looks like what might be seating out there, or no, that's just decorations for lighting. Fancy lighting out there. And then a small library over here with a ladder to climb up and some Christmas decorations. I haven't looked through this entire place. I know it's big. There is a downstairs area. No, let's go upstairs. There's a rooftop area here with a hot tub. I don't have an avatar with a bikini. And then some pillows out here. A marble table. It has some potato chips and some drinks. Thing here with a fire at the table. That would be great to do some Korean barbecue. Another seating over here. 73, I would assume that number 73. I don't know what that's for. This LED light here. And then, let's see. Oh, this is a mirror effect right here. It's not oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, okay. It doesn't actually go out into there. Oh, hold on. I fell in. Walked onto the bed. It's a water bed. And you've got a aquarium underneath that you walk on. That would be bad for the fish, though, unless you had like an isolated floor surface that you could walk on that wouldn't translate the your footsteps into the water. That would be bad for the fish. But it's pretty cool still. The Winter Company decorations, all this stuff here. Faye again. Beautiful Faye. Then this goes to someplace else. I haven't been here. Winter Company, the cozy room. I haven't been into that yet. And then there's a downstairs area here, hewn out of the rocks. Blade Runner posters come through here. And some popcorn. A big screen here. And some seating over here. Sit down. Watch Faye being beautiful. You know, you can then, put in the URL and stuff for stuff you want to watch. Django Unchained. I saw a story where what's his name, DiCaprio had a hell of a hard time saying the N-word. For some reason, he had a hard time saying the N-word for his role, and his co-stars were just saying, "Come on, man, just say it." especially Samuel Jackson. He was just like, "Come on, man, just say it." The Mummy. That's actually a pretty good movie. Pretty campy, but it's okay. I watched it before. It was pretty campy, but it's actually a fun movie. Oh, this is one of the new venues I'm using. I'm in a private instance of it now. There's usually a lot of people hanging out in this space. There's Pulse. There's that movie. I don't think there are any other places to go. Well, that's a key. A heart key. Yeah, that's it. Dread. Heard that was good. Never watched it. I heard that was good. Better than the Sylvester Stallone version. And then, of course, there's Back to the Future. That's the classic. And so that's my new set that I found to do these in. Rooftop, basement, okay. So they do have some signs showing where to go. This is the entrance. And this is about the maker and the people who helped to make this place possible. This is an impressive feat. I wonder if they're going to do anything with this to add new rooms or whatever. And then there's all of this. And it looks like this would be like guest bedrooms and stuff back in here. Wonder if they're actually going to do anything with that. But that would be cool. They actually did something with it. This doesn't go anywhere. I'd assume that goes into a room, but they don't have anything there. Controls for everything. I mean, you can really adjust the performance of this room, of this place, because this is available on VR Chat's available on PC as well as the Quest 2. The Quest 2 is not as powerful as a PC, so there are certain things that they can't do, certain things that it can't do, and so it limits, how detailed stuff can get. But this is pretty detailed, and I would really love to have a place like this. This would be really freaking cool. Really freaking cool to have a place like this. I would probably put up different decorations. Looks like you could definitely tell that it's a feminine hand that decorated this place. But having a place like this would be awesome. Anyway. Really, that's what I wanted to cover, what I wanted to say. About the whole game situation and the game studio situation. That's really what I wanted to cover today in today's episode. I will have an announcement of the next episode and what the next episode is going to entail. But the subject is right now. I came up with the idea for today's show rather early, and I set up the stream rather early for it. You're not going to see an announcement for it as early, probably the middle of the week, because I have to think of what would be the best subject for the show, what's most relevant. This was the most relevant thing at the time that I just had to cover. And so next time, by Wednesday, you'll see a notice on my channel as to what we'll be discussing, what we'll be talking about. Anyway, I want to thank everybody who was watching the stream, who came on. I see no one in the chat, but that's fine. I mean, I've only done this twice, and I'm only just now getting back to doing content on this channel on a regular basis. Anyway, stuff coming up. A lot of stuff for Gamers Bay. I've started the first episode of, Mouthing Off, which is very similar to this show in a lot of ways. I started that. Also be bringing back episodes of their Retro Spotlight, covering a lot of retro games. I'm also tomorrow I'm going to do a tribute live stream for Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy passed away at the age of 66. He is the iconic voice of Batman. I'm going to be streaming Batman Arkham Knight. Starting tomorrow, I'll schedule the stream for tomorrow sometime, and you'll get a notification. If you're subscribed to the channel, you'll get a notification for that. Also, follow me on Twitter at TheZorch, and also follow me on MeWe, and you'll see notifications from me as to when I go live for that. But I wanted to do that because he for me is the Batman. He is the voice of Batman, and I want to do the stream in tribute to him, in tribute to his passing. Anyway, that was today's show, and we'll have more to talk about in the next program. I have been the Professor. I want to thank you for watching, or anyone who came onto the stream and watched, and anyone who's watching this while it's not live on Zorch Central. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.